Today we're going to take a look at Socrative, and we're going to walk through the steps that you would take to download the program and to create your first quiz. So you're going to begin by going to Socrative.com. This is the front page that you'll see as you get here. You're going to click on Get Account. Then you have a couple of choices to make. It asks, are you a K-12 educator or higher ed corporate? And so I'm going to select higher ed corporate. And then I have a choice between a free account or a pro account. There are a couple of differences in those accounts. Two that we want to just really focus on a little is that the number of students you have in your classroom is very important. The free version will work for up to 50 students answering at a time. If you have more than that, you have the option of using the pro version, which goes up to 150, or you could group your students so that they're working together in pairs or in triads so that 3 students or 2 students are going to put in an answer. The other thing is having a public room for your classes or having up to 10 public rooms for your classes. If you have one room, it means that all of the quizzes you design for all of the sections of a course and all of your courses are going to be on one list. Whereas if you get the pro version, you can separate them by class so that each class would have a list of just the quizzes that were taking place in that. It might be easier for you to keep track of. Those are the two biggest differences. If you want to look for more information about the pro version, if you just scroll down to where it says Socrative Pro, watch now, and this is a video of all the features to help you make your decision. For our purposes, we're going to go ahead and just get a free account. So I'm going to click on Higher Ed, Get Free. I'm going to go through these screens now that they're gathering information, demographics, where you work, what your role is, those kinds of things. And you're going to end up at the end of this process with your email address being your username and the password that you create and confirm being the other part of your sign-in. So if I'm ready to begin my first quiz, I come to Socrative, I think about what content I'm going to be teaching that day, and I go to Teacher Login. Notice where Student Login is. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But for these purposes, I want Teacher Login. This is the dashboard that comes up. This number right here is very important. I showed you where the student login button was. Each of the students in your class are going to need to download the Socrative app to their smartphone, their iPad, or their computer, whatever device they're going to use in class. Once they have that on their computer, they can go to Socrative.com, they'll click Student Login, and it will ask them for a room number, and that's this number right here. And that's going to connect the student to you and to your quiz. So you're sharing information across the lines. So I'm going to decide to start with making a quiz. So I'm going to go to Quizzes. I'm going to go to Add Quiz, Create New. In this case, I'm going to talk about the SAMR model quiz number 1. I'm going to try to spell it correctly. I have the choice of having them identify the Common Core standards that go with it. I'm not going to do that for this. And then I go ahead and I start creating my questions. It's very straightforward. Do I want a multiple choice question, a true-false question, or a short answer? For my first one, I'm going to select multiple choice. And then I can type in a question that I have that I want students to answer, or I can take a quiz that I already have prepared that I might be using in class for something else and copy and paste those questions in. So here's my first question. The teacher asks the students to create a video demonstrating their understanding of a new reading strategy discussed in class. What level of SAMR is this task? And then I'm going to type in my choices, my answer choices. And then here I'm going to indicate what the correct answer would be. The correct answer could be augmentation, or it could actually be redefinition depending on how it was going to be done and with the other parameters that I set. So I'm going to accept either one of those answers as correct. I have the option then of explaining why those answers are correct, so that if a student got an answer wrong, it would give them the reason and the understanding. The other option I have here is putting a URL there so that they can go to a web page to learn more about the information that they're missing. So if I'm finished with this question, I'm going to hit save. That's how I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and start my next question. In this case, it'll be a short answer question. So this time I'm going to bring in an example, a task or a prompt. And it says, give an example of a task students could be assigned that demonstrates their understanding of analytic phonics at a substitution level. Always leave out that T. So they're going to then write in an example of a task that they think fits those criteria. So that's going to be my question 2. I'm going to say save again. And I'm going to continue on. I can make as many questions as I choose. And then when I'm finished, I'm going to go up to the top and hit save and exit. That now my quiz is saved. The quiz that I did today was SAM Model Quiz 1. If I want to go back in and add more to it or edit it, I can select it here and go back and do that. But in this case, I want to go ahead and show you what would happen if you created the quiz and were ready to use it in class. So I'm going to go to Launch. I'm going to launch my quiz. Again, I get to pick my quiz from the list, and that's this one here. And then click Next. Then I have a couple of decisions to make. Do I want students to get instant feedback on whether they got the questions right or wrong, or do I want to go over it in class later? Do I want students to be able to move through the quiz at their own pace, or do I want them to stay with me so that I can discuss each question as it comes up? In that case, I would hit teacher paced, which is my controlling how the questions go. And in this case, I'm going to stay with that. So I'm going to say teacher paced. I do want to require names. You don't have to. If you're really just looking for a general feel of how the class is doing, you don't need names. If you want to know specifically how specific students are doing, you're going to require names. You have the choice of shuffling the questions or shuffling the answers so that students aren't all seeing the exact same thing, showing question feedback, and showing a final score. And you can pick any combination of those things. For our purposes, I'm just going to pick teacher paced and require names. And then I'm going to hit start. So here's my quiz. A teacher asks a student to create a video demonstrating their understanding of a new reading strategy discussed in class, and my answers. So all of that is there and ready for me. So my students now are going to start answering. And as they answer, this number here is going to change. It's going to show how many students are signed into my room and then how many of them have answered. When we get to the point where they're the same, so I know that everyone has voted or selected an answer, then I can click next and go to the next question. And in this case, it was a write-in question, so they're going to type in their response. And I'm going to say show names so that I can see who's doing it, and then again, I can track when everyone has completed it. When I'm finished going through all of my questions, I click Finish, and I get several options again. View Chart would give me a list of all of the students that have logged into my classroom and that have used that code to get to my quiz, and then what answer they gave for question 1, what answer they wrote in for question 2. All of that can be listed out for me. I can do that listing as a whole class Excel, meaning so everyone's answers, everyone's name, all of that will be there on one sheet. I can run it by individual student. I can select one student and just highlight their answers if I'm having a conference with that student, or for some reason want to check on how a student is doing. Or if I'm concerned about whether my teaching of a concept is sound, I can ask for an analysis of just a specific question. So I can look at the range of answers that folks were given, how many people were getting it correct, so I know whether that information has come across. Now I have some choices. I can have that report emailed to me, I can download it directly onto my computer, or I can save it in Google Drive. And that's a choice that I can make. So that would be your first quiz on Socrative.